Greetings, welcome back to Old Ways Rising Farm YouTube channel, where we are doing a video following up on an earlier video we did earlier this spring on starting some air layerings. Now, it is the middle of August, it's the second week of August, and the first of these are either definitively gone, didn't work, or can be harvested and planted. So this one tree, I put two air layerings in. This is a crab apple. Okay, I put two air layerings in it. One on this big gnarly branch and one on this little water sprout. This little water sprout is ready to harvest and plant, and it has a very nice bundle of roots coming in there. This big old gnarly branch did not work. So I want to start by doing a little autopsy on one that failed, so that we can look at that. I need to snip this a little and see if we can figure out what was going on in here. If I pull all of this off, we can see that there are a couple of places, and sadly they're all on top of the branch, so it's not going to be as visible. There are a couple of places where I see lenticels that started to swell, but none of them started to produce roots. Okay. So I was watching this, and actually, wait, I'm wrong. That is a root that started to produce, but it broke off when I pulled this off. So we made one root. It started to do its job. The roots were starting to come from these lenticels, this one root. But the tree abandoned it faster than it was able to do a nice root ball. And I was watching this. I saw it start to die back here, and then a little bit of growth start to come off of one of the recently cut branches here, and then that died all the way back. It's like, okay, this isn't going to work. So that is one that did not work. The tree abandoned it. I'm just going to now make a pruning cut and get this dead wood off of here. This was a branch I was going to prune anyway, so we haven't really lost anything. Okay? We just didn't gain. Now, this one back here, I'm going to cut this right below where I tied the bag. Okay. Lots of nice green. And we have a nice, tall, vigorous cutting. So, if I hold this so you can see it, you can see there's big water roots down in here.
Nice.
Right? So this did a very nice job of making roots. But those roots are very, very fragile, and they need to be nurtured. So this, I am a little bit nervous about the tree maybe wanting to start to abandon this as well, which is why I wanted to go ahead and cut it here. I'm going to pot this. It's so top heavy like this, it's going to be very difficult to pot. But since it has lost a few of its leaves, I do want to leave quite a bit here. So I'm just going to cut off this little top knot. The center of gravity isn't quite so unfavorable, but leave most of it, and we'll go and we'll put this guy in a pot. So here we go. We have one ready to be planted. I'm going to be very careful. Take this plastic off. So you can see if I turn this over, I think there's where you have the most roots. I'm trying to do this without... Get unstuck. Come on, you. I'm trying to do this without beating the plant up any more than I have to. But if you look here, all of this pink and orange, that's the new root. Okay? You see it's kind of coming off of the middle, right where the lenticels were at the base of the cut. The cut is right about here, and the roots originating from above the cut. Okay, we talked about all that in the original video. Then here, actually, there's teachable moment there too. Below the cut, you have this little branch starting to come off. Okay, so you get the roots from above the cut and new branches from below the cut. Now, these were done on exactly the same day, and you can see how much more root there is on this root ball than the one little root sticking out of that other one. These little water sprouts are growing so vigorously and putting so much energy into their growth that they're really good candidates for propagation. And this is almost universally true. It doesn't matter whether you're doing air layerings, whether you're doing traditional cuttings, or whether you're doing grafting. These sorts of water sprout, rapidly growing young tissue are very, very good things to try. Now, we're going to simply stick this in a pot. I took the moss pad from that one that didn't work, and it's already in the bottom of the pot, just to kind of reuse that a little bit. And now I'm going to plant this in straight up pure moss. This sphagnum moss has a pretty unique ability to wick up and hold massive amounts of water so that the tree can drink easy, while at the same time having lots of airspace so that the roots do not suffocate and drown. So it is a super wonderful material for this sort of use. Just going to very carefully pack that around. Now, this is not well anchored in the pot. The downside to moss. So I'm going to take it and I'm going to put it in a larger container, which will help hold the pot a little bit, because you can see how top heavy it is. And I'm going to water it down through the moss and let the water collect in this bucket so that there's an inch or so of water constantly in the bottom of the bucket, so it always has that to wick up. Okay, that will help it stay well watered. And I'll probably put a little bit of fertilizer in there, not a whole lot, but a little bit. Something that's high in the second two numbers. For the, like, you have your NPK numbers, nitrogen, phosphorus, potash. You don't want nitrogen with this. We don't want to push top growth. We want to use the top that we have and push root growth, right? So like a 5-10-10 type formulation would be really good for this. Something along those lines, something with a bit of potash and a little bit of a phosphate in it would be good. So I'm not going to do that right away. I'm not going to do that until it gets a little bit more root growth, because you want to be really careful that you don't burn those roots. They're very young and very fragile at this stage. Now, I'm also going to find a location. I might even do it right against the tree I cut this off of and tie this. Tie it in place vertically. So that way it's not trying to flip and flop over. It will stay in this pot until it fills this pot up with roots, and then I will take it and put it in a normal tree pot and let it grow in normal soil. But it needs this intermediate step in this little bitty pot in order to take the roots that we've gotten, develop them into more roots. Okay? So this is just the first of many cuttings. There have been 3 or 4, 5 that have failed, just as that one did, but the vast majority of them are still green. Some are starting to show some little root tips coming out. Some were not. So all of them are going to be harvested and treated in exactly the same way. And we'll give you an update in another month or two when we see how things are progressing. It is about the second week of September here, and we have some treasures to go find inside this here yew bush. If you remember when we did the first video on how to make the air layers, we put a couple in here, and they are indeed growing. So, coming in with the saw, because yew is hard. And look at all that nice root. Bit much green, so I'm going to cut a little bit out. I'm just trying to decide. I'm going to cut these two big ones out. Yew is extremely hardwood. Okay, that's down. It's reduced a bit. Reduce this one to there. We will reduce this one to there. I think I want to reduce this one a little bit further, but you get the idea. This is what we're going for. Okay. Nice batch of roots, nice cutting. There's another one in here I'm going to pull out, and then we'll pop those up. So you can see this nice bunch of roots, and we are going to pot this just like these last ones with a bit of moss in here. Now I don't have quite as much moss as I wish I did right now, but this will be enough to get her started. Get her started nice and happy, and I'll go collect some more moss. The tree behind me is taking quite well. It dropped its leaves, but the apples have been dropping their leaves early for some reason this year. It has a lot of root growth. I was poking around checking a week or two ago, and it's got really abundant root growth, and it's starting to resprout some leaves because we had a really big heat wave a couple weeks ago that kind of gave it a cue to resprout some leaves. I honestly wish it wasn't doing that. It will continue to grow roots even after the leaves go down. It'll keep growing roots until the ground freezes. So there's one set up, and I'll tie these up nice just like this other one. Doesn't want to sit right now. Gotta tie it. One thing I want to note here is you see how this air layering is up high above some green growth. That's important. You want to have green growth below the air layering so it doesn't abort that branch. But when we go to plant this, I want to trim it off here. And you do want to use the pruning saw for this, especially on yew, because yew is hardwood. It's a softwood, but it's hardwood. Okay. Kind of score my twine there. Get that all loose. There we go. And then we have this one to plant as well. Nice root growth. Okay? So I'm going to get these tucked in here to protect these nice roots that we just spent all this effort to make. This little bit of moist moss packed around them will keep them fine for a day or two, and I'm going to go collect some more moss. And I'm going to go keep checking the other air layers that haven't quite produced yet. I will keep cutting them through this month. Once we get into October and into the peak leaf color, I'm going to stop collecting them. Any that haven't developed roots by then, I'll leave till spring. They may need that spring root elongation period in order to be successful. But even if they don't, even if they start to produce roots, I'm going to leave them attached to the tree because it's just too much of a risk to cut them that close to freeze up. They won't have enough time to establish. So I'm going to keep looking at these, working with these, and we'll do another video in the springtime. So I hope that you found this a little bit useful and informative. If you have and you wanted to give it a thumbs up, I would be most grateful. The algorithm loves when you do that. Helps it know to show the video out to others. And I will see you next time at Old Ways Rising Farm.